Everyone, welcome to the Royce Reports. I am your host, Royce, and on today's video, we're going to be talking about Xbox leaving the EU and Crash 5 potentially getting canceled. So, let's talk about it. This is mostly an Xbox-centric channel, so if you like what you see and you'd like to see more content similar to this, be sure to hit that subscribe button. And today we have to go over this whole news of Xbox potentially leaving the EU. And I think a lot of people are kind of spinning this in a weird way. So let's dive into it. Microsoft could stop pushing Xbox consoles in Europe, other regions. Marketing plans for Microsoft regarding its Xbox consoles could be changing in a major way. In the latest edition of Tom Warren's The Notepad newsletter, the push to sell Xbox consoles in Europe and other regions could be going the way of the dodo bird. According to a tip Warren received, Microsoft will reportedly stop marketing the Xbox console itself in Europe, the Middle East, and Africa, also known as EMEA. Instead, the company will focus solely on Xbox Game Pass, cloud gaming, PC, and Xbox controllers. Quote, Microsoft has been struggling to sell Xbox Series S and X consoles in many countries across the EMEA, and the tipster believes Microsoft will now allocate less console stock to Europe as a result, end quote, he says. Warren adds that he hasn't been able to fully verify the information from the tipster and is still looking for more information. So a lot of people are running with this. Of course they are, right? It seems like a lot of people just really want to doom and gloom Xbox. That's the cool thing to do nowadays. But I feel like they're failing to realize a little aspect of this is that this does not mean that Xbox is leaving the EU, like the console itself is not leaving the EU. This just means that they're no longer marketing. First off, number one, what marketing are we talking about here? I don't ever see Xbox marketing anything at all. I feel like they haven't marketed since the Xbox 360 days when I used to see these awesome trailers like the Halo 3 trailer or the Gears of War trailer, or just seeing things on TV. Seeing Xbox have a massive push for their consoles in the sports space and even in movies like Transformers, where one of the Xboxes actually became a Transformer itself. So they don't really do that anymore. That's not something that Xbox has really been a part of for quite some time now. So I don't really think this is that big of a news. I could have told you that. I just don't think that Xbox really knows how to market their product anymore. And in fact, the marketing that they do like to do is to market the fact that you don't need their product. That is the big market push. And so I think a part of the reason why they're pulling out of EU and no longer trying to market is because of the lack of success that they've been able to achieve there. And it's no one's fault other than their own. They're not really putting a big fight up against PlayStation in that region, and it seems like they're just abandoning it in general just because they just have been struggling really hard there. Lately, Xbox has had a big push towards cloud, mobile, streaming, Samsung TVs, and Fire Sticks, Amazon Fire Sticks. These are things that they are strongly focusing on now, and they're kind of leaving the Xbox console itself to the wayside. So I don't know what you can expect when you tell everybody under the sun that you don't need their console to play it, and you try to sell your console instead of as a mainstay for your entertainment system as a side piece, sort of like, hey, you know what, you have a PC, well, you have an Xbox too. Oh, you have a Samsung TV, well, you have an Xbox too. Oh, you have a Fire Stick, well, you have an Xbox too. It's like, so it doesn't really matter if you don't have an Xbox. Continue playing on PlayStation, continue playing on Switch, because guess what? You can still access us whenever you're ready. And that's the problem. They're not really making people realize that you need to have an Xbox to play the games from Xbox first party. So the biggest issue here, in my opinion, isn't the fact that they're pulling out of the EU. It's the fact that because of your marketing, people are no longer buying your consoles, and now because you're essentially a third-party publisher and people can just wait for your games to come over to their preferred platforms, so you're just giving less and less reasons to hop in. Other than Game Pass, there's really no other point. As of right now, as it stands, Xbox is not leaving the EU. EU is still a region for them that they are going to continue to serve. And Judge Gordon's confirmed that, saying, for those asking me, I'm told Microsoft had no plans to pull Xbox out of retail in Europe. What do you guys think? Do you think that Xbox is done? Is this the beginning of the end for the Xbox brand? Do you think that the next Xbox could potentially save them? On to other depressing news. Crash 5 has potentially been canceled. Now, this is coming from a person who used to work at Toys for Bob. They were an artist for that company, and due to the fact that they are now able to say whatever they wanted to about some canceled projects, they're talking about it, and this is what he has to say. Well, our canceled project of the last 3 years is officially truly dead as of today. Internal attempts to save it failed, and the embargo on the whole body of portfolio work has been lifted. RIP Project Dragon, brace yourselves for the largest ever art bomb of work I loved. Someone responded saying, if this is Spyro, I'm going to be the most pissed off man who ever lived. And Nicholas Cole responded saying, it is not Spyro, but someday folks will hear about the Crash 5 that never was, and it's gonna break hearts. In case you didn't know what Project Dragon was a cozy sandbox survival crafting multiplayer RPG, a buildable world made of blocks inspired by Minecraft, filled with fantasy characters and quests inspired by Breath of the Wild, and I loved working on it dearly. This is not the same Project Dragon that IO Interactive was doing and working with Xbox on. Completely separate. It just happens to have the same name. A lot of people are saying that the 3 years was regarding Crash. This is not Crash 5. Crash 5 was not in development for the past 3 years. Crash 5 was most likely still in the early development stages, if not planning, or with not just having some art drawn up for it. Canadian guy A kind of elaborated a little bit more. Seems like this guy knows a thing or two about Spyro and Crash. He actually runs a whole entire YouTube channel dedicated to those games mostly. And he said, not as simple as this. Yet again, Crash is the butt end of poor reporting. A lot more to the story, not as cut and dry. And he even retweeted that with a response saying, let's get a few things straight before I make a video about this. Number one, Rumble didn't cause Crash 5 to be canceled. Number two, Crash 5 wasn't canceled for Rumble. Nick Cole, amazing artist by the way, was unfortunately laid off in early 2021, and Rumble comes out in 2023. Do the math. So essentially, a lot of people are trying to run with the fact that because of Crash Rumble coming out, they kind of canceled Crash 5 in order for that game to come out. That is not true. That's its own separate game. That game does suck. And it isn't fun. I don't recommend playing it. It's not something that Crash or Spyro fans were really clamoring for, so I'm not sure why they decided to go that direction. But we know that there was a Crash 5 at some point, and now that's no longer a thing. Toys for Bob is still working with Microsoft Gaming. They did branch off and become their own separate indie developer, but they're working closely with Xbox to publish their next game. It kind of has a purplish hue to it, so a lot of people are speculating that it could be Spyro 4, which would be awesome to see. I'd love to see Spyro return and get the same treatment that they gave Crash to Spyro, but that's still unconfirmed at the moment. We really don't know what Toys for Bob is working on, if it's a new IP or if it's Spyro, but we know it's definitely not Crash. So it seems that every time Xbox has a mascot, they kind of just want to keep it at arm's length. The sad thing is when you're looking at your competitor and you see them doing something with Astro's Playroom, Astrobot, and they're actually having a full AAA experience coming out later this year, it's hard to look at that and see how excited everybody is and kind of wonder, like, why are we not getting that over here on this platform? Why are we not getting a Banjo-Kazooie or a Spyro or a Crash or a Conkers? You have access to Viva Pinata, and now you have Psychonauts, and you have all these other IP at your disposal, and you refuse to do anything with them. You see that Crash Insane Trilogy ended up getting 20 million units sold, and Crash 4 getting 5 million units sold. That is astounding numbers. Those are things that some developers dream of, hoping that they could get something like that. And yet here we are, not even seeing these games come to Xbox Game Pass at the very least. Yeah, I don't understand it. I don't understand who makes these decisions at Xbox, but they really need to fix that, right? They need to attack that younger audience, right? Like, you have to develop a means for people to get into your system and stay with your system, and these platformers and these mascots are ways for people to do that. But I'm not really sure where they're gonna go with this. I know that Crash and Spyro are games that are massively successful. I just want Xbox to kind of chase after that a little bit. if not, make a game with all of them. That would be really cool. I think Toys for Bob would be a perfect team to bring Crash, Spyro, and Banjo all together in a kind of shared multiverse of mascot platformers. I think that'd be really awesome to see. But at the very least, can we get a Banjo game at some point or a Spyro sequel? I'm really hoping that's what we get to see in the near future, but who really knows at this point. So at the end of the day, I just think that we still have to wait for some more details to come out about Crash 5 and see if we can, you know, maybe on the horizon, Crash can make a return. So what do you guys think? Do you think that Xbox pulling out of the EU for its marketing is an indication of what's going to happen in the EU itself with the consoles? Do you think the console is actually at the beginning of the end? Do you think that Crash getting canceled is a win, so that way they can focus on maybe Spyro or Banjo-Kazooie? Banjo-Kazooie, where you at? Or do you think it's a negative thing, right? Are you a huge fan of Crash and you kind of wanted that? Do you wanted all of it happening at the same time? Let me know in the comment section below. I appreciate you guys for stopping by. Let me know what you guys have been playing. I've been playing the same thing as it was last week. I'm still playing Lego Indiana Jones 2, getting through that one. I really hate the car mechanics in that game. They freaking suck. If you know, you know. Still going through Prince of Persia 2008, which is actually phenomenal. I'm really enjoying it. Dialogue could use a little work. And then I'm finally finishing up the first episode, or the first game for Ace Attorney. But what about you? Let me know in the comment section below. I'll be seeing you guys on the next one, and remember, take it easy.